Morning. It is 10 o'clock. However, we are lacking a quorum, so let's please prepare to stand ready to make by. To stand by. Ask and you shall receive. All right, this is the June 28th regularly scheduled meeting of the City Utilities Committee. I'm Howard Shook, chair of the committee. To my left is Vice Chair Dustin Hillis. To my right is Andrea Boone, and to her right is Antonio Lewis. So with that, I'm going to call the meeting to order and make a motion to approve the agenda, second by Mr. Lewis. Let's open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda has been adopted.
Thank you. I'll now make a motion to approve the minutes of the prior meeting.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hillis. Let's open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes have been approved.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we have one speaker for public comment.
Okay. And who might that be? I don't have the list in front of me.
Brother Anthony Muhammad.
Okay, Brother Muhammad.
Remember last year, we come down here, y'all like to start sometime before we get started. I am Brother Anthony Muhammad. I am that I am an ancient believer. I command my spiritual energy to teach my soul consciousness every day. And one of our ancient ancestors named Nesheru. And I'm not a believer no more in religion, the Roman Catholic Church religion, from Genesis to Revelation. Not one person, not 100 person was born from the womb of a woman. Maad Matrat Hotel, Assalamu alaikum. Mr. Dickinson, committee, council, we had a problem in 2017, almost 5 years in July. It was signed and said by members of this committee to make sure that Butler Road would get micro service about September 2017. Public utilities, I bring that to you because you have these people that you can be able to tell. This legislation was passed, and I suppose the money was appropriated. So I'm asking Mr. Antonio Lewis, Ms. Overstreet, District 11, let someone come in and aid you, because this is unfair. And then I come back and say, Mr. Dickinson, I was reading in 1712, you had the letter written by Willie Lynch to keep the indigenous dark people. He said, I can tell you, Plantation Ola in Jamestown, Virginia, how you can control them for another 1,000 years. The American descendants of ex-slaves, the dark people. After passing of that 104 years ago, or having that meeting, in the year 1816, Gullah Wars was started by General Andrew Jackson. General Andrew Jackson was responsible for a killing of women and children in the Gullah Wars. So I ask you, as Ms. Stacey Abrams has said, because the Democratic Party was founded by Andrew Jackson, and the Democratic first president was Andrew Jackson. He didn't have no love for dark people then, and the Democratic Party is not being fair to dark people today. So I ask this council, city council, to stop denying the lower 50% of our population, which is the majority, from having social, economic, empowerment, housing, political support from legislators. You legislators come here and not doing for the benefit of your people, and especially one that is the American descendant of ex-slaves. It's time to do right by us. We got people living on the street. Do you see? You come down here and your people, the majority of the Caucasians, are doing well. And the majority of those that above the 50% I talk about are doing well. But what about the poor? I greet you. Assalamu alaikum. A shay, and a shay.
Thank you. We have no quarterly reports, is that correct?
Correct.
Excellent staff work. Could you please sound our loan first read?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Item number 1, 2020-1526, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee to ratify services rendered in connection with Special Procurement Agreement SPS 1200424, Identity Verification and Deposit Assessment Services with Online Information Services Incorporated, beginning May 26, 2022, and to authorize the mayor or his designee to exercise the second renewal option on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management for a term of 1 year, retroactively effective from May 27, 2022 through May 26, 2023, for time only, in accordance with Section 2-1163, subsection C of Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances and for other purposes.
Thank you. Those will come back to us at our next meeting. That takes us to regular agenda section G. Could you sound our first ordinance?
Item number 2, 2020-1481, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the FY 2022 Water and Wastewater Renewal and Extension Fund budget in the amount of $1,500,000.00 to transfer funds from the Watershed Reserve for appropriations and add funds to the asphaltic, concrete, pavement, milling, and resurfacing project and for other purposes.
And, there you are, Commissioner. It looks like you have a monopoly on presentations today. So tell us about this paper, please.
Good morning, Chairman Shook, members of City Utilities Committee. It's Makita Browning, Department of Watershed Management. Purpose of this legislation is to appropriate funds for the asphalt, concrete, paving, milling, and resurfacing contract in the amount of $1,500,000. The intent of this annual contract is to have a contracting mechanism to provide supplemental support to our Office of Linear Infrastructure Operations with completing right-of-way restoration and repairs where water and sewer work has disturbed existing pavement, and to ensure and maintain the structural integrity of disturbed areas within the roadways. Subject to your questions.
Yeah, I'm curious. What is the system for the department to try to figure out when a street that's been worked on needs only selected patches, even though it may be a square this big out in front of every house, versus just redoing the whole street?
So as we're completing our repairs that are performed by the Office of Linear Infrastructure, so you have a crew that will complete the actual linear pipe repairs, and then there'll be a crew that will follow to provide support with some restoration. But there's some restoration that we will defer to a third-party vendor, such as if we've got a lot of restoration to do within the GDOT roadway, we typically want to get in there and get out pretty quickly.
Sorry, go ahead.
And if there's any supplemental support for if any complaints come in about any depression into any or failed patches that we may have done previously, we'll have a contracting mechanism to try to get the issue resolved.
And I'll go to Mr. Hillis next, but what accounts for what seems to be a pretty typical gap in between the time, an initial hole gets filled and then it gets the final coating? Sometimes it's months later. Why is that?
It should not be months later. Typically, the construction contracts or the internal crews will do the repairs. They'll backfill. They'll plate it temporarily, understanding that we've got work going on throughout the city, so they try to schedule the work. But sometimes it gets backlogged. I admit that. But it absolutely shouldn't be months. It should be
Some of us
just
have
a couple
to
weeks.
achieve historic landmark status, I think. Mr. Hillis.
Thank you, Chairman Shook, Commissioner Browning. My question, not necessarily specific to internal to DWM or your contractors, but how do you all set the policy of holding private contractors accountable when they go and dig up a water line or connect to a sewer line, and hold them accountable to that restoration? I know I've talked to other professionals, and they have a very strict policy where if you come within a foot of the center line of the road, you have to redo the whole width of the road, et cetera. So how do we go about setting that policy and enforcing it?
So there are standard details that are in place that really dictate how we restore the roadway back post-repairs. There's also inspectors that are on site to oversee and make sure that the contractor's work is done to a good quality and standard pursuant to city's standard details. So,
All right, thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hillis. Seeing no other questions or comments, let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. This item is found favorable. Item number 3, 220-1482, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the FY 2022 Series 2021 Water and Wastewater Commercial Paper Notes budget in the amount of $50,000.00 to transfer funds from the 2021 Water and Wastewater Commercial Paper Notes for appropriations and to add funds to the SG4 Eastlake Outfalls, East and West, Eastlake Trunk Replacement, and Sugar Creek Trunk Capacitor Relief Project, and for other purposes.
hey, good morning again, Nikita Browning. Purpose of this legislation is to appropriate funds for the sewer group for Eastlake Outfalls, Eastlake Trunk Replacement, and Sugar Creek Trunk Capacitor Relief Project. This is a consent decree project that will continue efforts to upgrade the city's trunks and outfall sewers pursuant to our First Amendment consent decree. The work will remedy defects observed during the city's sewer system evaluation survey, reduce the amount of extraneous flows entering the system, eliminate sewer overflows, and add much-needed system capacity to accommodate future growth. The defined scope of work will take place within the Sugar Creek sewer basin and will consist of upgrades to approximately 27,388 linear feet of trunk and outfall sewers, ranging in diameter from 18 inches to 36 inches, utilizing various proven traditional and trenchless techniques to complete the necessary upgrades. And I think a map should have been included in your packet. If it hasn't, we can definitely provide that to you, subject to your questions.
Well, I was going to request, and are there 5 sewer groups? How many sewer groups are there?
There's 6.
Okay, 6. So what you might want to do is, I think those of us who have been around have inherited a map showing, the lay of the land, but the new members, especially the district members, might find it interesting. So if you could just refresh all of us with those maps. And let me ask this. So
Absolutely.
most of Buckhead was in sewer group number 1 because was the most overburdened, or there was a lot of very overburdened sanitary sewer sheds there. And so that got tackled fairly early. What's the lifespan expected to be for these kinds of repairs?
So for Buckhead, to your point, it comprised mostly of sewer group 1. There was a little bit of sewer group 3. The small diameter work that I sought approval for, there's another contract that's coming up that's situated in Buckhead as well. And typically these contracts, we're kind of chipping away at it over time. The contracts will range between 12 to 18 or 24 months in duration. So
is 30 years a kind of a typical number
for
life expectancy
of the
repairs?
Well, when we put new pipe in, minimally the expected life cycle of the pipe is minimally 50 years. And as you know, we've got pipes in the ground that are 100 years old. So
some of the first sewer groups were under a restriction or requirement that for every gallon you put in, you had to take 3 out or 5 out or whatever. We're past all that, aren't we now?
We're still held to that criteria. Obviously, it's important for us to do these repairs so we can minimize the amount of extraneous flows that are getting into the system. So the whole point of it is to address those structural repairs, reduce the I&I that's getting into the system so that we can have reserve capacity for future growth.
Questions, comments, motion? I'll move approval. Second by Mr. Hillis. Let's open the vote.
The vote is open. Vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. This item is found favorable. Item number 4, 220-1483, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend FY 2022 Series 21 Water and Wastewater Commercial Paper Notes budget in the amount of $666,472.81 to transfer funds from the Series 2021 Water and Wastewater Commercial Paper Notes for appropriations and add funds to the Sewer Group SG4 Diameter Rehabilitation Project Contract B and for other purposes.
So I had a request if we could take both items 4 and 9 since they're related.
On the money paper? Yeah, that's fine.
Great.
Could you sign that caption for 9?
Sound item number 9. Item number 9, 22R3958, a resolution by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute an agreement for IFBC 1220176 Sewer Group Small Diameter Rehabilitation Contract B with Rockdale Pipeline Incorporated Integral Municipal Services Corporation, a joint venture on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management for a term to commence on the date a notice to proceed is issued for a period of 488 calendar days for substantial completion and 548 calendar days for final completion, and the amount not to exceed $22,671,075.66. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. And this item would need to be amended to attach the IPRO report.
Let's talk about the ordinance first, the project.
Good morning again. The purposes, legislation is to seek legislative approval for award to Rockdale Pipeline Integral Municipal Services Corp. for the Sewer Group 4 Small Diameter Rehab Contract B in the amount of $22,671,075.66. This is the sister contract to Contract A that was approved a couple of cycles ago. This is a consent decree project that will continue efforts to upgrade the city's existing small diameter sewers pursuant to the First Amendment consent decree. The final scope of work will take place within the Peachtree Creek and Nancy Creek sewer basins and will consist of upsizing or upgrades to approximately 32,401 linear feet of mainline sewers, utilizing various proven traditional and trenchless technologies for the necessary upgrades. And again, I think a map should have been included, but if not, I can provide that. There was an IPRO report that was transmitted and subject to your questions.
And could you talk about the contractor selection? What's IPRO?
So it went through, the normal procurement process. We had approximately 3 bidders. And it looks as all 3 were deemed responsive. There were some items that were noted as part of IPRO's review. We did not award to the lowest vendor. The vendor had performed work for us. The lowest vendor had performed work for us before, and there was some unsatisfactory performance that was documented. And so we went to the next responsive vendor.
Do you usually see a spread of that magnitude between bids?
Well, we can sit and analyze the bids side by side. Based on market conditions, we can determine if the price is reasonable or if it may potentially be unbalanced. Based on my knowledge, the evaluation team reviewed it. We had a budget of roughly $20 million. All of our estimates are brought, up to date based on current market conditions. We're typically seeing costs come in within 15 to 30% over, sometimes higher. So, I would say that the lowest was very much under.
Okay, and the proposed contractor has certainly done a lot of work for us in the past. I assume that is highly satisfactory.
They perform very well. They have.
Jealous.
Thank you, Chairman Shook. Thank you, Commissioner Browning. So while the iPro cites the finding, I honestly think that's a good thing in showing contractors that you can't come to the city, perform poorly, and or continue to underbid contracts just to get awards, which we've seen before in DWM and DOT and DEEM. So I think this is a good thing, and I applaud you for making that choice and selection.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks in advance for no coming change orders. So I'll make a motion to add in the iPro report.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hillis. Let's open the vote on the amendment.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. This item has been amended, and we can take item number 4 and 9 together.
My motion is to take them together. Item 9 is amended.
Need a second, Mr. Chair.
Second. Do we have a second to take both? Oh, second by Ms. Boone.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. Item number 4 is favorable, and item number 9 is favorable as amended.
You.
The department requested that we take item number 5 and 6 be taken together as a block.
Proceed.
Item number 5, 22-0-1484, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the FY 2022 budget for the Series 2021 water and wastewater commercial paper notes in the amount not to exceed $2 million to transfer funds from the 2021 water and wastewater commercial paper notes for appropriations and add funds to small water meter installation project and for other purposes. Item number 6, 22-0-1485, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee to ratify services rendered in connection with Agreement FC 10118, Cooperative Purchase Agreement for small water meter installation and replacement service with KM Davis Contracting Company, Incorporated via Cobb County Water System Contract FY 1819 new water meter installations for small water meter installations and replacement services on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management beginning June 14, 2022, to authorize the mayor or his designee to exercise a third renewal option on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management for a term of 1 year retroactively effective from June 14, 2022 through June 13, 2023, in the amount not to exceed $2 million and 0 cents in accordance with Section 2-1163, subsection C of Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account number listed herein and for other purposes.
Good morning, Chairman Shook, council members. Benjamin Gaines, Interim Director of Field Operations. Bid Legislation 22-0-1485 authorized a budget amendment of $2 million, which would transfer funds from the 2021 water and wastewater commercial paper notes to the Small Meter Installation Project Fund. This funding will support the third renewal of contract FC 10118, small water meter installation and replacement services. Questions?
Questions or comments? I'll make a motion to approve both. Second by Ms. Boone. Let's go ahead and open that vote if you're ready.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. These items are found favorable.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, 22-0-1485, authorizes the third renewal of contract FC 10118, small water meter installation and replacement services.
I think they took it to
Both. Good. Perfect. Thank you all.
Thank you. Commissioner, before, and I don't know if you have anything else on the agenda, but while you're here, let's review this June 6 memorandum, which contains various answers to questions that have cropped up in prior committee meetings. I think it would be of general interest. So I'm curious about the outstanding balances, and I'm looking at your chart here. So 94 million of the 132 million is residential. What's your process? What's your timeline for kind of getting the billing cycles back on track?
And thank you for that question, Chairman Shook. We have devised a 12-week plan for amnesty. We've been working through some logistics regarding where we're going to have those events or meetings take place within the community. So we're a 12-week period. We're looking at mobilizing to local rec centers as well as libraries, and we're being, attentive to make sure that we're in places where folks can get to us, so that make sure that they're on public transportation line. And so the team is going to be mobilized to those different locations, working with customers to help to get their those residential accounts, the ones with arrears, into compliance. We're going to offer all the tools and resources that we have available to support them. So our Care and Conserve program, members of that team will be there. We're going to leverage the low-income water assistance program that we're partnered with the Fulton County Action Plan program to offer those customers that are in need with support in paying their water bills, and just be able to, if they need to go on a payment plan, we'll be working with them to get them on a payment plan. And I think the max payment plan we're looking at is 24 months. So we're just going to take it as an opportunity over a span of 12 weeks to really get out in the community and work with our customers, the ones that have accounts that are in arrears.
Mr. Hillis.
You, Chairman Shook, just, continue to shake my head over this. I know some of this is due to COVID. We've let accounts get more in arrears since then. However, looking at the chart, if you look at 3 to 5 years, it was somewhere around $22 million in arrears. 6 to 8 is somewhere around $10 million in arrears. And then the multifamilies, the top one is $1.4 million. Number 25 is around 215, and then number 50 is around 105. And something different on the multifamily than the single family and the commercial is many of the multifamilies don't show a current balance. Is that because they have paid their current balance, or is that because they have changed account names?
I'll let
Jonathan Williams. Jonathan Williams.
You pull the mic up. Thank you.
Sorry about that. I'm Jonathan Williams. I'm Deputy Commissioner, Financial Administration, Watershed. Yes, it's because some of them are current. There are age balances that we're still working through. To the Commissioner's point, we've taken this time over recent months to actually work through all the accounts that look odd to us and may have some issues with billing accuracy or service issues, and we're trying to correct that before we start the amnesty period.
Okay. And looking at the commercial, top account is $770,000 in arrears, down to 40 at the bottom, and these are just the top 50, of course.
Yes.
And single-family residential, I mean, the top account in single-family residential was $500,000 in arrears.
That's true, and that's one of the accounts that we're focused on to try to find out how that got to that space. That billing was not accurate. There's some other underlying issues associated with that we'll be adjusting off.
And then just looking further down, the 25 marks at $100K, and then the number 50 is at $70K. And, that stuff doesn't happen in the 2 years of COVID. I mean, this is
No, it
some other
doesn't.
issues or some longer-term problems.
They are, and excuse me.
You're absolutely right, Sam Hillis. It doesn't happen overnight. This has been compounding over the past decade. And so again, last year, as I said, I wanted to make this a priority for the department to tackle this issue. We recognize that we've got some accounts that are severely aged, and they may be beyond collectible life, but we want to make sure we drill down to a good sanitized list of accounts that we felt we want to try to tackle that we felt would be collectible. And it's going to be an iterative process for us to try to get these accounts under control and into compliance.
And you said your initial process is going to be how many days to work through this?
So we're instituting the amnesty period for 12 weeks. So it'll go through probably mid-September.
And when would be a good time to get us another update on these numbers?
I will plan to provide an update to you every quarterly update.
Okay.
So I have my next quarterly update will be in August, and I can provide an update to you how the amnesty
Provide
program
the
is
same
going.
format.
Yes, absolutely.
So we can compare
Yep,
apples to
absolutely.
apples. Thank you, Commissioner.
We've been joined by Jason Winston and Liliana Bakhtiari. Okay, Ms. Lewis, you go.
So I noticed spots like Pittman Park and $123,680. That's owned by the city, right?
City does have accounts. All parks have water accounts that they remit payment to us. Yes, they do. And so that's an account, I presume, D.C. Williamson will need to look into.
Absolutely.
A lot of times with the parks, we'll work with the Department of Parks and Recreation. They have leaks on their side, and we'll work with them to audit and kind of understand what's happening within their infrastructure that serves the parks. And so working with them, if they're able to do repairs and remedy those leaks and issues, adjustments will be made accordingly so that amount won't be the balance.
Because I'm just wondering, I just know about the resources that they need at that park. And if they got a bill at $123,000 and, they need fans. We have to, actually deliver fans over there. So that's kind of crazy. But thank you.
So I want to get a better understanding of the nuts and bolts of the amnesty. So when does it begin?
So we're still working through the logistics. I think we're probably 90% closed.
Yeah, we've identified the field locations. We're coordinating with the administration so we can make a clear communication to everybody who would be affected by this. And like the Commissioner said, we're about 90% there. We'd like to do it in the next 3 or 4 weeks if possible.
Ms. Hills.
So just to clarify, what does amnesty mean to Watershed? Does that mean you get to write off your whole $500,000 bill, or you get to pay a percentage?
No, it does
or
not.
get on a
Amnesty
payment
means
plan?
that we will review your bill for collectability. In some cases, we're finding that there were errors in meter reads, there are service requirements, so before we move to the point of shutting people's utility off, we want to make sure that it's a legitimate bill, that none of it is past the statute of limitations. There is some of that on there as well. There's past 7 years for owned properties. That doesn't need to be part of this. So this gives us a chance to meet one-on-one with each customer and actually talk through their bill, get their perspective on it, offer them options, and bring the account current.
Thank you for that clarity.
So you're 90% of the way there. How long is it going to take to cover the last 10%? I mean, are you expecting to roll this out in a week, 4 weeks, 8 weeks?
Yeah, I think where we're at right now, Chairman Shook, we should be able to roll it out within the next 2 to 4 weeks.
I'm sorry, how long?
2 to 4 weeks, and there will be communication to spell out pretty prescriptively what the plan will be.
Okay, and then the plan is you're going to contemporaneously set up at convenient locations around the city, or are you going to sort of concentrate on one area, then move to the next area?
We're going to go from, we're going to segregate the city into 6 pieces, and we'll do 2 weeks at a time at each location, and at any point, customers can come in and meet with us directly here at the city. What we were trying to do was to make it easier for folks who may have some challenges with transportation to get to us in the field.
So a customer who's got a problem, this is their opportunity to come in, sit down with someone. They're not going to get all the answers at that meeting, but it's just going to be their opportunity to explain, what they think the problems are and what needs to be looked at.
Not only explain, but get access to some of our programs that are available. If it's a legitimate bill and they're LIWAP eligible, we can provide them with that service at that time.
I imagine some of this, according to good accounting principles, is going to end up being written down.
No doubt about it, and
Yeah.
we've reserved correctly for everything, so it's not like there's going to be a hit associated with this. After a year, we're at 100% reserved.
I know the prior auditor found that the department actually was not writing down at frequently enough intervals, which was kind of made the problem seem a lot worse than it was. Okay, so person comes in, there's staffers, there's going to be back and forth, you're going to check their meters, you look at the billing records, all that. What about the people who don't show up?
They are subject to the next step, which could be potentially cut their service off. You can't not show up and not pay. We're trying to provide all the options we can for folks, but there will be a requirement ultimately that they pay their bill.
Is the department shutting off accounts now?
We are shutting off for any event there's a waste of water and some instances of theft. Yes.
Yeah, I know in the past, sometimes you'll have an abandoned building, but
It's just
the
running.
water never got cut off, and it's just running, or it's being diverted somewhere else. Mr. Hillis.
So once we get, this is almost a month old now, but $132.9 million, once we get that written down to some more reasonable amount, how is Watershed going to change their practices so we don't get back to that again and hold people accountable sooner when they have missed bills?
I think we get back into our normal mode of business like most water utilities. We're going to, as D.C. Williams said, we're going to do a good level set on the accounts that are collectible. Again, we want to make sure we're connecting with as many of the customers as possible to bring those accounts into compliance, and just continuing to, be proactive, reach out to customers. This amnesty period also gives an opportunity to make sure that the information we have on file for customers is accurate, because we've been making a lot of proactive calls over the past year. Phone numbers have changed, inaccurate information, and so once we get through this period, we look forward to getting as many accounts back into compliance and getting back into a normal cadence of shut-offs like normal water utilities do day to day.
That's something Watershed is going to commit to.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do you have enough staffing to do all this work, or are you going to have to outsource any of this?
I think we're appropriately staffed. We're moving some folks around, and we're still continuing to hire for mission-critical employees, so we'll continue to add to our staffing pool so that we can keep up.
All right, I notice in your little microscopic chart here showing the district-by-district results, you've left out District 7. I mean, it's statistically...
We had all districts supported. Potentially there was something that just missed the communication. They're all included. We have them all.
I'll take a look at that, and we can look to reissue it.
Okay, I mean, just 7 got left out. It's statistically impossible that,
Understood.
How many of these accounts are getting estimated readings?
I don't know. I'll have to dig into the details, and I can get that total to you, that percentage to you.
Well, I tremble to ask this next question. When are we due for the next meter replacement program?
So we've been replacing meters pretty much iteratively. So it's an ongoing basis. We recognize we've got meters in the ground that may be near the end of their service life, and we can tell that those meters might be at the end of age when we have to resort to the estimated readings. So that is the importance of the previous legislation that Director Gaines provided. So we're able to replace meters more efficiently when they're at the end of their service life.
Okay, as one-offs rather than go through the...
Yeah, it's not, hundreds and thousands. We've been able to kind of isolate where those older meters are in the system. And so we're going to be working with that mechanism that's coming up, those proceeds to help to get those meters replaced sooner than later.
What's the industry standard for a like-sized utility in terms of, where these accounts stand?
Many, and we've benchmarked with a few other municipalities, and it's all over the map, to be honest. A lot of folks are not cutting people off and have not gone back to closing down accounts net of COVID. So a lot of the larger cities do have large balances.
I believe that the industry standard is about 7% is where we should be. We're upwards of 30, so we've got some progress to make.
Yeah, and you're right, this is not a new problem. It didn't just crop up. I've been on this committee for 20 years. This is not new, but it really did balloon substantially. And, we do all have to pitch in to make sure that, paying your bills is not considered voluntary. And we all want to make sure that the system you operate has a human, kinder, gentler side to it. I think we also all know that there are corporations out there and, people who just leave town and all of that, and they're happy to leave us holding the bag for that. And I think we all definitely want to see that bill ferreted out and brought to account, because this is, as we all know, provision of water sewer in this town is extremely expensive, almost to the point of being confiscatory. Anything else? Any other comments? Well, we'll look forward to quarterly reports, but should other information or questions come up, I'm sure we will not wait around, and please don't you wait around if you have information you need to share with us.
Absolutely. Consider it done.
Anything else, committee members? All right, Commissioner, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
The next item is, we're on Section H resolutions. The next item is item number 7, 22R3858. A resolution by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari requesting the Departments of Finance and Public Works to conduct a cost-efficient study for street-based sanitary services and general common good sanitary services to include the solid waste collection and fortification portions of permitted special event permits and others. A report of study of findings and recommendations shall be prepared and presented to the City Utilities Committee no later than March 31st, 2023, so that the identified cost efficiencies and cost savings can be considered and incorporated into the FY 2024 operating budget and for other purposes.
We have an amendment we'd like to bring forth, or a substitute, so go right ahead, Commissioner Wiggins.
Good afternoon, Chairman Shook and committee members. Al Wiggins, Commissioner of the Department of Public Works. So I had a brief discussion with Councilmember Bakhtiari in regards to the original request that mandated the study be completed within 12 months. We do have concerns, the administration does have concerns with the request, primarily because it will take us 12 months to be able to obtain a complete data set of information based on our current range of operation. Although the information that was provided in the original cost study was accurate, many changes have been made since that study was completed, such as the level and extent of services that are provided. We are also looking to bring on routing software very soon, and so it will take us time to collect data after the software program is implemented. So we will need at least 12 months to have a consistent set of data to be able to analyze to complete the cost study.
So we would like to first amend to say that we would have a progress report instead of the full study, a progress report on the study presented to us no later than the date listed, which I believe is, let's see, a progress report given no later than March 31st, 2023, and then the final report given concurrent with the original date with the sunset.
And do we have the amendment?
No, we came up with the amendment just before.
Why a year?
So the original request for a year was for a year, the most recent request. So the original request to the department was 24 months. And so we will need at least 12 months to establish a baseline, considering that we will onboard routing software. And so we also anticipate capturing data that was not added to the original study. So again, my concern is that we will be focused on meeting the timeline as opposed to conducting a comprehensive study to collect all of the data that we need to make better decisions.
Okay, so y'all have to procure a consultant.
That's correct.
This ain't going to get done in a year, sadly.
Which is why we said the progress report on where we were at in a year, with the full study and findings being presented concurrent with the sunset, with the date of the original legislation.
Yes.
Hopefully the progress report doesn't say it's still in procurement. What is the go-live date for the routing software that is necessary for this study? Has that been procured?
Yes, so CM Hillis, we are looking to bring that before the committee in July. We're working with procurement. We're looking at a cooperative agreement to procure the software, which only shortens the process, the procurement process, probably by 10 or 20%. So we have been working on this process for the last 4 months with procurement. I think we're at a point to where we will be able to present by July, no later than August. So the process is in place, and we have also been in discussion with the consultant that we believe that will be used to complete the cost study. So again, the process is moving, but again, we still need additional time to collect the data to complete the cost study.
What's your best estimate as to when this will be in all of the trucks and us collecting data? Fall or?
So I believe in the next 12 to 15 months, depending on how the procurement process works, that we will have a complete data set to analyze. And in that 24-month time frame that was initially asked of the department, that we will be able to complete the study.
Thank you.
Mr. Lewis.
My questions are, do you have enough staff? Are you ready for this? Basically, I know we've asked this every day. Everybody who's came up, we've asked them, like, as a department, because we want to support you, your city department. Are you prepared for this right now?
So as it relates to the study, the heavy lift will be done by the consultant. Although through the approved legislation, it will require us to beef up our admin team. From a billing perspective, to hear appeals that are related to invoices that are issued. And so we are still building our team around the transactional duties that will take place in-house. So at this point, the answer is no. I feel confident that we will be able to over the next 2 to 3 months.
And the next thing is, are we already doing this in the new general fund solid waste thing? Are we already studying this? Are we going to be studying this in our new solid waste coming out of the general fund?
No, this actually, go ahead, Commissioner.
So if I understand you correctly, will the cost study run concurrent with the upcoming FY23 budget cycle?
Well, I think the question was, are we looking into the study that I am proposing already in the sunset, in the legislation that will end up sunsetting? This study does not include, the study that we passed out of the general fund didn't include a study on common good services. That was specifically left out. But talking to legal, running a separate study was totally fine, because of the intention here is to find efficiencies where we could find out where we can cut down on costs that could help, for example, like special services, fortification fees, et cetera, that we could cut down on those costs to cut down on our taxpayers, and instead look at increasing costs in departments and for services that haven't been increased in forever.
And I'm all about it being efficient. Could we add this to that study? Is there a way we can add this to that? I would only say that because similar to any time we were in the council meeting, I would say, hey, I don't want this stuff to pass immediately right now. Right now, we just got an amendment 5 minutes ago. Sounds like about 5 minutes ago, got an amendment to this. It's not here.
Yeah.
I would hope that we can hold off on this to the next public utilities committee meeting, and then we can have a longer discussion. Maybe we can work it out and add it to other things.
Yeah, so Councilmember Lewis, to answer your question, it has always been our intent to perform a comprehensive study of all services that are offered by DPW, particularly the Special Operations Division and the Solid Waste Division. Although the common good services, that was not a legislated requirement, our intent has always been to perform a comprehensive study of all of the services provided.
Thank you for that. Last thing, I would just want to see us do it right, not rush it. I think what Councilmember Bakhtiari is bringing forward is something we need, particularly if it's not already being done. I don't want to rush it, though, because this amendment just happened, so much so we don't have it right now. So I would like to make a motion to file or to hold.
Comments? Is there a second? Let's see if there's a second first. Apparently, we do not have a second. Well, so that's going to be accomplished via a substitute, I'm told. So let's read in the substituted caption to the extent that it's different.
See. Item number 7, 22R3858, a resolution by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari, as substituted by City Utilities Committee, a resolution requesting the Departments of Finance and Public Works to conduct a cost study for street-based sanitary services and general common good sanitary services to include the solid waste collection and fortification portions of permitted special event permits and others. A report of study findings and recommendations shall be prepared and presented to the City Utilities Committee no later than March 31st, 2023, so that the identified costs may be considered and incorporated into the FY 2024 operating budget and for other purposes.
I'll make a motion to accept the substitute. Second by Mr. Hillis. If there's no questions or comments, let's open that vote. Procedural vote to accept the substitute.
The vote is open. The vote is open. Will everyone please vote?
Wasn't voted. I'm the mover.
The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention. The substitute is before you.
Lewis. You need to state your reason for abstaining.
Similar to you, I wanted to see it in here.
Okay.
I wanted to see it in here like you just said.
Okay. All right, thank you. Motion to hold on substitute. Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah, I'm going to withdraw my motion. Yeah, you can go ahead and make a motion. I'm withdrawing mine.
Okay.
So are you withdrawing your second? Okay. Motion to approve by Ms. Bakhtiari, which I will second as substituted.
Well, the vote is open. Will everyone please vote? Mr. Chair, can you repeat the intent of the motion?
To approve on substitute.
Okay. The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable on substitute.
Thank you. Commissioner, while you're up here, let me ask you a question that's been put to me. Given our shared concern about our homeless population, could you refresh us as to how many of the automated public toilets that are in the right-of-way do we have?
So that probably will fall under DEAM. It doesn't fall under the purview of the Department of Public Works. We'll work with them.
You don't manage that program?
No, sir.
Okay. Is there anyone from DEAM here? Okay, I'll follow up on that. I'm wondering how they're performing. Are they functional? Do we need more in light of what's going on, et cetera? Ms. Bakhtiari.
I would argue that we absolutely need more. I think the last we checked, I think we were had some of the worst numbers in terms of public restrooms per green space or per open space. So we were pretty low. But would any allotment of funds to installing new public restrooms have to go through DEAM and not DPW?
So I'm not certain if DEAM manages that program. I'll have to verify that, but it's not managed under the Department of Public Works.
Then we'll have to look into that. Thank you.
Lewis.
As we drop those public restrooms off, I don't see any in my district. So I would love, particularly the ones that look like the ones outside of City Hall, the ones that pretty much clean themselves. I would love to see some of those at South Bend Park, Perkison Park, and at the parks in my district. Thank you.
I think there's only 4 citywide. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Item number 8, 22R3860, a resolution by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari urging the mayor or his designee to hire a chief sustainability officer to lead the mayor's Office of Resilience, who will also serve as the chairperson for the Clean Energy Advisory Board and for other purposes.
Yes, we've had this opening for a while, and moving this office back under diversity, equity, and inclusion worries me because it shows a further disinvestment away from resiliency and sustainability. And given that climate change is possibly the greatest threat we face, that's a huge problem. So urging the administration to put someone into that position, and so I move to approve.
I will second that. Questions or comments? Let's open that vote.
The vote is open. closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is found favorable.
Okay, and being a dual, I'll now move that we refer it to Finance.
Mr. You have to refer to do referral to the next committee. I'll just make a statement that
all right,
this will be forwarded to our FEC meeting tomorrow.
Very well.
We have one item coming off held.
Yep.
Item number 11, 22-0-1456. This item needs to be substituted to add language to amend the Code of Ordinances. May I read the substituted caption?
Yeah, please do.
Item number 11, 22-0-1456. Ordinance by Council Members Michael Julian Bond, Keisha Shawn Waits, Jason H. Winston, Byron Amos, Jason Dozier, Liliana Bakhtiari, Alice Wan, Howard Shook, Mary Norwood, Dustin Hillis, Andrea Boone, Marcy Collier Overstreet, and Antonio Lewis, as substituted by City Utilities Committee to amend the Atlanta City Code of Ordinance Part 2, Chapter 154, Article 3, to expand the Care and Conserve program to address restoration of certain property for low-income customers resulting from sewer spills and water main breaks, to make other drafting amendments and for other purposes.
I'll move to bring forward the substitute.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hillis. Let's open that procedural vote.
The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is before you.
Okay. Commissioner.
As promised, we've put forth a substitute to expand our Care and Conserve program and some notable amendments. The amendments will achieve the following. They'll, in addition to bill payment assistance, water conservation, and leak repairs, the Care and Conserve program will be expanded to include restoration of property for damages caused by sewer spills or water main breaks. Remediation of property, which occurs prior to restoration, will continue to be handled by the city's on-call contractors. We retain the same affordability criteria. We'll apply for customers that seek assistance where there has been a sewer spill or water main break, as applies to bill assistance or water leak repairs. Federal, state, and other funding assistance is recognized as a potential source of funding for the program, in addition to the community development block grants. And this provides the Commissioner of Watershed Management to continue to have the ability to set the criteria for the program. This includes the type of property restoration work that may be approved and any funding limits per customer or per property.
I want to thank you and Ms. Bakhtiari for your leadership and support and collaboration to effectuate this very good improvement. And I will make a motion to approve on substitute.
Thank you.
Ms. Bakhtiari has seconded it. Let's open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable on substitute. And Mr. Chair, that concludes our legislative items for today.
Thank you. Anyone with any announcements, questions, observations, well wishes, advice? All right, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.